I share this podcast as someone who quit a corporate job in 2015, went all in on living my purpose, and had some struggles along the way. Took me years to figure out how to go about supporting myself, making a living, and sharing my gifts with the world. And I share this podcast to hopefully give you some ideas so that it doesn't take that long for you, so that you can start to bring your work into the world, make an impact, make an income sooner rather than later. And as I've noted before, we all have our own timing. And so on this note of me quitting my job in 2015, there is left with a question. Lou, if you quit a corporate job and went all in 2015, yet you didn't start supporting yourself financially into 2019, then what were you doing in the 4 years in between? It's a great question. Honestly, not a question anyone really ever asks me, but something I want to speak to, because it's not that I had money saved. It's not that I worked at this job and was like, okay, I'm going to save, this amount of money is what I need, and I'm going to go all in. Not even close. Not even close. I had no money. I was just drinking all my money away. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I still quit this job to go all in and trust fall into the universe. So if I didn't make a living for 4 years, how did I support myself in those 4 years? And that's what today's episode is all about. I want to tell you this story and help you answer the question of, should I do it? Should I take the leap? Should I go all in? Should I really see what I'm made of? See what happens when I give all of myself to it? And so I'm going to help you answer that question, share with you some of the struggles, some of the reasons why I might suggest not doing it, and give you my experience of why I did it that maybe will help you think about if that's the right path for you. If you are having this question, if you are at a job, and if you're not, if you're already pursuing this, or maybe you have some money saved, I still encourage you to listen, because I think it might be helpful for you to just trust your own timing and start to listen again for those deeper calls, for our spirit that wants to work through us. That is what this podcast is about, and that is what I want to help you to do. And so to begin the conversation today, I'm going to share with you a few verses from one of my favorite songs called Two Spies by Nahko and Medicine for the People. I'll be the earth that grounds you from that chaos all around. I'll be the home you return to. I can be your middle ground. I will serve as a reminder. If you jump, you will not fall. Go on and spread those wings of reason. We are water after all. I will serve as a reminder. If you jump, you will not fall. And I just wanted to repeat that last line, because it feels so embodied to what happened for me, that it was a very extreme jump. And truly, by the grace of God, I didn't fall. I came close. I had some challenging moments, but I didn't fall. And so I start this episode by inviting you, when you think about the leaps that life has asked you to take, or the leap that life is asking you to take right now, to just get really quiet, to take a breath, to feel it in your heart, and to ask, is this God, Spirit, Source that's asking me to do this, that's wanting to move through me? Or is this maybe just an option, a potential? Maybe you have a business with a business partner and they're asking you to go all in and really give it a shot and leave your job. But it's not coming from God. It's not coming from this felt sense within. And so that's the big distinction here. And I'm not claiming to have a more of a connection to God than you by any means. I believe we all have that same source and spirit and connection. And so if I look back and put pieces together, I believe the reason that I didn't fall was because the action came out of that. And the action came out of a incredible not knowing state, an incredible uncertainty. If it had been certain, if I had known the path, well, I'm going to quit and then, here's the path. I'm going to make this amount of money. I had no idea. It was really this trust fall in, there's nothing that I could be certain of. All I could be certain of was that Spirit was asking me to do something incredibly radical. And it felt like, as I've stated in my story, if I didn't do it now, the portal, the door, the grace of God would not be open for another 10 years. And so I leapt. And here we are, 8 years later. Now, what happened in those first 4 years? And how can I share what happened in a way that would be valuable to you in how you're thinking about it? And so maybe just pausing here to really invite you to think about your own path with sharing meditation or having your own business. And the biggest thing is you don't have to fully quit. I would encourage you, unless you really feel that Spirit God calling, that it might not be the safest thing. I've seen it not work out for people. As much as I want to promote this, you will not fall. And I believe that. The thing is, I can never know where it's coming from with someone else. And so I don't promote it. I say everyone's different. Everyone has a unique context. Everyone has a unique experience of life, a unique privilege. To be honest, I knew that if I really fell, I had parents I could fall back on. I never had to use that, but that was a privilege that I had that some people don't have. And if I didn't have that, I can't tell you I would have made that same leap. That was a factor, that was a comfort net that I had that was definitely helpful in me making that decision. So everyone has a different experience. And so should you go all in? It depends. It depends. And you get to decide what all in is. You get to decide what all in is. And as Rick Rubin talks about in The Creative Act, you can support yourself doing something else. And here's the thing. Here's where I had to go all in, is because my new job that I had was starting to become very consuming. For me, I don't have a lot of energy. I'm a manifestor in human design. I don't have a ton of energy where I can grind out 80 hours a week. And I switched from a 40-hour work week to a 50-hour work week. But that 50-hour work week bled into actual home. My old job, it was at work, I left work, and I left everything at work. This new job that I took on in marketing and event planning, I brought it with me home. And I wanted that. I wanted something that I can fully consume myself in. what I do now. But I thought it was going to be that at the time. And so the reason for me, and again, so unique experience, but for me to make that leap, it felt like to give the time that this deserved, I needed to really go all in. And so here's where the grace comes, or the potential of the grace. Literally, the day after, I make this radical, I just quit my job, crazy. I get a call from the founder of the mastermind that I was a part of in San Diego called Junto Global. And he had heard that I'd done this move. I told people. And he said, Lou, I heard you just quit your job. I'm sure this was a sound financial decision, which it absolutely wasn't. I literally had $1,000 in my bank account when I quit my job. My rent the next month was $1,000. And he says, Lou, I have a friend who runs the Costco auto department, and he always is looking for mystery shoppers. And it's a great gig. You work for a week, you get paid a bunch of money, and then you go and you have a lot of time to build what you're ready to build. And it was just like crazy. This is literally the day, 2 days after. It was 2 days after. 2 days after. I remember it so vividly, getting this text from this person saying, you're going to be all right. We got you. And I was like, wow. I had no idea this job was there before. It's not like I quit and I was like, I know I'm going to have this job. I had no idea that this thing existed. But I jumped. This thing presented itself and was like this, okay, this is a real thing. And just to give you actual numbers, you could make in a week, you make $200 for each shop that you would mystery shop. So what the job was is you would go into auto car dealership, and Costco, which I'm sure you're familiar with, especially if you're in the States. If you're not, it's a big brand department warehouse store. And Costco is known for the ease and cheap, or not necessarily cheap, but economical, because their food is actually also typically organic and good. So cheapens it, but typically you get bulk and for an easy or economical price. And so they can't sell cars in their warehouse. So they have this auto program that you go to an auto shop, or you go to a car dealership, and you go through the Costco program, and it's supposed to be different than your normal car buying experience because Costco has already done the deal for you. It's supposed to be really easy. They just give you the price, you get the car. It's supposed to be simple. So the job is doing is to audit that, to make sure that they're doing the job right, which, as you can imagine, doesn't always happen. And that's why people like me do that type of job. And so you get paid $200 for each shop. And on a trip, you do about 20 to 25 shops. Do the math. That's $4,000 to $5,000 for a week of work. You're an independent contractor. You go on your little mission. You do your mission. You write your reports. Do all the things. It's very intensive for that week of work, and that's it. And you make $4,000 or $5,000 for that week. Pretty good. Pretty good, especially for some kid who has $1,000 in the bank account and just quit a full-time job and has no idea what to do for money. $4,000 in a week is pretty good. And so I thought I was going to have that position. I was like, wow, the universe is aligning. And what happened is I think the guy who I interviewed with thought I was absolutely insane because I just quit a job. It was crazy. And then a couple of weeks later, I keep talking to him. I'm not getting the gig. I'm not getting it. I keep having these conversations. He keeps kind of avoiding me. And then I tell him I'm about to write a book. And I just think I sound absolutely insane to him, which I was kind of absolutely insane at the time, just having this incredible spiritual opening, and wasn't getting the gig. And this is now into February, still not getting this job. I got my last paycheck from work, so it kind of boosted that $1,000. I think I got like maybe $1,300 for that last paycheck, or $1,500. I can't exactly remember, but I kind of had something to hold me over. Still wasn't getting this gig. Now I'm getting afraid. I'm like, okay, I need to do something. So what do? I sign up for Lyft. And I slowly starting to drive Lyft just to give myself something of like, okay, I'm starting to make some money here. But I'm really depending on this gig. I'm really waiting for it, but it's not coming. Now, there's some crazy stories that happen in here that I'll get to at another time. But it's February, still don't have this gig. And then I'm just waiting. I'm feeling very disempowered. I'm like waiting for others to give me permission in a way. I'm waiting for others. And this is a very disempowered state. And this is maybe a lesson to just reflect to you, right? That every time that you just take ownership over what you need to do, over dotting your T's or dotting your I's, crossing your T's, when you take ownership, life moves for you. And I was in a place of waiting for things to happen rather than initiating and taking steps to happen. Now, I'm not going to get into, if you're any human design nerds, you might say, well, that's your type and so other people can wait. And that might be totally true, but I can only speak from my own experience since I mentioned human design before. So what happened is that I'm starting to get discouraged. I'm starting to get afraid. And I go from working at this company, getting this raised marketing coordinator for this international brand. A month and a half later, I'm walking into coffee shops and little restaurants, and I'm asking if they have job applications because I felt like I needed to take some step, and I just wanted to be in an environment that would nourish and allow me to create the things that I wanted to create, which at that time was an inspiration for writing the book of what happened for me in the past 7 months that led to this radical transformation. And I walked into a couple restaurants and it was just like the vibe was just off. It didn't feel right. They didn't really have any positions opening. And then I got my car and I'm like, wait a second. I have Lyft. I know how much my rent is. I know how much I would need to make a week. And I just got really clear of like, if I can make $500 a week, I'll be okay. And I just set that goal. And I just was like, everything just became crystal clear. It's like I was waiting for something to happen. I was feeling disempowered. I was walking in these restaurants. I was like, you know what? Let me just hit this goal. I'll make $500 a week driving Lyft. I'll listen to audiobooks. I'll continue to grow. On my off time, I'll write. I'll do whatever I need to do to start growing what I wanted to do in the world. And I decided. And literally that day that I made this kind of proclamation and this clarity where there's an alignment that happened internally, that it was like, boom, this is what I need to do to make things work. I get a call 2 hours later. Hey, Lou, it's this guy's name who ran the Costco program. We need someone to shadow this person today. Like, are you available? And I was like, yeah, of course. I didn't have it. I dropped everything, which was nothing because I just quit a job. And I went and with one of the higher ups in that program, actually this guy's wife, I went and I shadowed her doing the first mystery shops. We got along so great. It was such a great experience. The next day, she's doing more. And she's like, well, would you want to come back and shadow more? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Right. I'm like, wow, I finally get this opportunity. And so this is about mid-February at that time. And I continued with her. And after that, after she felt my energy and like what I was able to do in this job. It was so fun. It's such a fun gig. It's like you're going and you're kind of being an actor. You have to make up a fake alias. You have to have a whole story about what you do, where you live. You are acting. And I know there's for someone who's all about authenticity, but when you play a role, when you have a job to do, you kind of have to embody that job. And so what I got to do is to wrap up, a very long story because there's other things I could say in here, but I got the gig and slowly got some bigger gigs. So I first was doing a local gig in San Diego that paid you a little less because you still had to pay for all of your travel. So even though if you make $4,000 in a week, you have to pay for whatever your costs were to travel, airplane, rental car, Airbnb, all those things. And so long story short, I got more opportunities. It's not like you ever have the job because you're an independent contractor. You just start getting like opportunities. It's like, hey, this job's open. Do you want it? And I started saying yes to anything and everything. And so I did my first job was 6 shops in San Diego. My second job was 16 shops in LA. And then my first big kind of get on a plane, rent a car job was in Seattle in May of that year. So it slowly started to happen where I started doing a good job on these jobs. And so I got more opportunities. And the craziest thing is that when I quit my job in 2015 with no plans on how I was going to support myself for the next year, just jumped. I made more money in 2015 doing this gig for Costco, mystery shopping cars, than I did working my full-time job where I was working every day, 50 hours a week. I made more money working like a week a month than I did in my previous job. And this was a wild lesson for me because early on, it broke me out of the paradigm that to make more, we need to work harder. Because it was a clear flow that was starting to happen in my life. And, I made a lot of radical changes too. So I stopped drinking. I wasn't spending money on alcohol and partying. Like my whole lifestyle radically changed. And with that, I could see how money could come in with more flow, where you can actually have space, where I could make $44,000 in a year and maybe work about 11 of those weeks. And so, as I think about where I'm at now, where, the ratio of how I work to how much money I make, it's really tough to feel whatever that connection is. It's really more of an alignment and a flow, and I feel super free, and I make more money than I've ever made in my life. And I think that paradigm shifted, and I'm grateful for it, shifted with this job. And so so many people are going to message me, Luke, can I get this job? I've tried to get so many people this job, and it never works out that way because we all have our own path. And now this all might sound really easy. Lou, you jumped and you got this opportunity. Like, how's that helped me? Now, I did leave out kind of some serious low points in this story because it brings in a completely different story that I'm not ready to tell quite yet. But here's to bring this back to, should I jump? Should I not jump? One of the most difficult things to navigate, even after getting this job. So you get this gig, and now I have a space where I potentially can keep money afloat. But then you get home from this trip, and you kind of have shifted your routine, and now I'm back, and I have 3 weeks with absolutely nothing on the calendar. And for someone who's always worked for someone, having that amount of space can be incredibly overwhelming, because when you have your regular job, you can kind of build in a structure. Like, I'm a big believer that structure creates creativity. And so let's say you have your Monday through Friday 9 to 5 that you go to, and you start building in a routine that you wake up at 6:30, 7 a.m. or something, or 5 a.m., whatever it is, and you create meditations in the morning, or you write in the morning, or you work on building your business in the morning, and you create a habit. And because you have just that 2 hours or that 1 hour, you're really focused in that 1 hour. You go to work, you do your work thing, you come home, you do your family, or maybe you do this at night or after work, whatever it is. But you get what I'm saying, that because you have less time, you can actually be really productive in the time that you have. Now, it was, for me, going from 0 to 100 incredibly overwhelming, because time felt so heavy, where I'd wake up and I'd have the whole day to do anything, right? There was no boundary. There was no structure. And it would be crippling. It would be crippling because I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. I would just be surfing on the internet and bouncing around, and it would be really challenging. So for some of you, that's like, Lou, what do you mean? You had all this time now, you have money. Like, it's like what we think we dream about. But I'm a big believer that if you quit and went on a beach for 4 weeks, you're going to be either bored or, overwhelmed or wanting to change. Like, we're meant to have structure and purpose and routine that keeps us going. And so if you're thinking about going full time, I would encourage you to do can you test it? Can you take a month off work? And you say, hey, a sabbatical, so to speak, and see what it's like for you. because you might actually find that you were getting more done with your job. Now, this is different for everyone. Or if you're like if your job is taking you away from anything, and if you're having to be around an energy and environment that is toxic, that is taking away your spiritual flow and energy, that quitting and leaving is going to be such a radical like shift and give you that energy, then yes, by all means, go for it. And if you are already on your own, maybe you've had some of the experiences and challenges of trying to navigate your own schedule. And maybe you haven't. Maybe you're super connected, and that's cool for you, and you have your routine down. But for me, it was really overwhelming. And so, do I recommend people to leap, to not leap? Again, I'm going to have to come back to, can you slow down and see, is this spirit that's guiding me? And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you're going to put yourself aligned. As Joseph Campbell said, you put yourself on a path that had always been there all along. And that's what happens when you follow, as he would say, your bliss. That it's waiting for you. It's already written. My friend, not my friend. I wish he was my friend. Nako in Medicine for the People has a song, "It Is Written." I think in The Alchemist, Maktub, it is written. That in some dimension, in some aspect of energetic quality, that your purpose, your life, your unfolding is written already, just as the unfolding of an oak tree is already written in the acorn. And so you learn the path by walking it. And so I say that because it's going to be unique to you. And know that if you know what the path's going to look like, if you can be, I would almost say, if you have a strong plan, then I would actually give more pause to that. I would actually give more energy to someone that wants to quit a job that doesn't have a plan, rather than someone who has a strong plan of how it's going to work out. Because what I've seen is, often people give that plan way too short of a time. I've had a friend who quit a job and thought he was going to be making, his living in like 5 months. And I'm like, dude, this takes time. It says it takes, 4 to 5 years for any business to get off the ground. And so if you have like a small plan, it's such a balance. I'm saying this and I'm like retracting myself. But our purpose, our spirit guidance, it's often actually taking those leaps into where we have no idea what the future holds. It's acting with that bold, taking those steps where we don't know, that actually we open the door for something completely new to emerge. And that's what I want to encourage you to lean into, to not try and plan it, to not try and figure it out, but to really keep getting quiet and asking, what is the next step? What wants to emerge? What wants to unfold in my path? To walk the pathless path. The path is found through walking it. So keep coming back to the moment. Keep coming back to your connection to spirit, to God, and asking for that guidance, because that's really the teacher, that's the coach, that's the healer. Anyone else that's you get guidance from is just if they're doing it in an integral way, I believe is helping you connect with that, and that takes care of the rest. Should you jump? Should you stay? It depends. All I know is, for me, when I have jumped, when I have followed the call of spirit, that God, the universe, has made clear that when I jump, I will not fall. And so thank you for listening, friends. I know this is riffy and ranty, but again, I hope sharing some of my story helps you understand my path. If you have questions on that Costco gig that's not about getting it, you're happy to share it, or what else I was doing in the time. It was really fun. What a fun gig I got to do. I got to travel to all these cities in the country, in the US. I got to go to all these cities that I would have never gone to and explore and go on these road trips and be driving from place to place. And yeah, I got to practice acting. I got to practice writing. I was writing these like 1,000-word reports after every car dealership, and I had to make up these stories, and I had to kind of embody that I was this person. I had to make up aliases. I had to, have 5 burner phones on me. It was a really fun gig, and it was all by myself. It was fun to go on these little missions and make some money and come back and work on the things that matter to me. I got to completely leave it where it was. Like, so that's another lesson. It's like, can you completely leave your work at work? Because that gives you such a fresh eye to do the things that you're doing. But if you're taking that with you, it's porous, and you don't have a clear energy to work on the things that you're working on. So I feel so blessed, so blessed for this gig, because it afforded me everything. It afforded me the ability to keep putting the energy that I was putting in and to where I'm at now. And I did my last gig in 2019, September of 2019. And at that time, it was like, this is enough. I've sat in hundreds of car dealer deals. I've disappointed hundreds, maybe 1,000 car dealers, because I was never actually buying the car. Oh man. And it was getting to that point where, like, when things need to end, and I was getting scared that I actually need to actually make this other thing work. But, I look back, and it's some of my most cherished memories. It just shows like the journey is not about getting anywhere. Like, there was so much beauty and purpose in going and doing that. And so if you have a job, you get to bring that purpose to it, and it's for its own sake. That it's not about getting to the thing. I'm where I'm at now. I'm like, I've made it in whatever I thought making it was years ago. And honestly, I look back and I have nostalgia for those times. They were so alive. They were so new. They were so on edge. It was such a, what's going to happen? And I feed off that energy. So some people don't feed off that energy. So I almost miss that, as crazy as it sounds. Lou, you've made it, but you missed the past. What the heck? Goes to show it's not about getting anywhere. The journey is the reward. So enjoy it wherever you are today. Bring your aliveness, bring your energy, do what you need to make this day count, because that's what it's about. I thought my rant was over, but I guess some more wanted to come through. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you thought. Send me an email, and I love getting a chance to share this with you. If you didn't hear on my last episode that I have a brand new course for you, it's completely free. It's a course called Meditation Script Mastery, and it's a 7-lesson video course to help you script and create powerful, unique, and evocative meditations that you can use online, that you can share with your clients, that you can learn how to come up with new ideas that are different than other people, that allow others to really vibe with you and trust you and connect with you. And so it's free. So go to meditationcreators.thinkific.com. Thinkific with IFIC. Meditationcreators.thinkific.com. There should be a link in the show notes for you. Enroll, share it with your friends, and I deeply thank you for your time, your energy, your love. Go out there, share your gifts, share your light, and let me know how I can support you.
I'll beat my drum for you, I'll sing my song for you, I'll clap my hands to the beat that transforms into. I'll beat my drum for you, I'll sing my song for you, I'll clap my hands to the beat that transforms into.
The music you heard is a song called Nova by River Roots. Thank you so much for listening.